Welcome to the District 91 Hybrid Committee Pioneers Recordings. This is a series of interviews to capture the stories of the hybrid pioneers in District 91. And we have with us today our very own Mike Weston. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Mo.
Mike Weston first came along to Toastmasters in 2008 to support a nervous colleague, and after seeing the benefits of the program, stuck around on and off for the next 12 years. While he started his journey in North Scotland, he is currently the president of London Public Speakers, based at London Bridge. He is the area director for J4, admin and finance support for Division K, and a member of the District 91 Hybrid Committee. Mike came third last year in the District 91 Table Topics Contest and passionately believes that contests offer a rare opportunity to develop as a public speaker. And everyone should seize the opportunity to take part. Once again, welcome to the District 91 Hybrid Pioneers interview, Mike. I will ask the first question. Why did you get interested in Toastmasters hybrid meetings?
I think this answer will probably be shared by many people who come to it. The pandemic strikes, we're all suddenly online. And London Public Speakers is very much, because it's based at London Bridge, a commuter club. A lot of our members don't live anywhere near London Bridge. So I looked at our membership and I thought, we're seeing the working pattern shift. We're seeing people working from home. Are they going to come back to a club that's nowhere near them? Are we going to lose all of our wonderful members that we've been supporting throughout the years, who've been part of the club and whose hearts are in the club? What can we possibly do to retain members and possibly find new ones? And in my mind, the answer was, well, go hybrid. When we come back in the next couple of months, which would be summer 2020, we'll just simply do hybrid meetings, and we'll get to kind of claim our existing physical members who didn't want to move on to Zoom, and we'll get to keep all the people who are now working from home. It will be a simple solution for a complex problem. So yeah, that was very much where I first came across the idea of hybrid from a technical point of view. I'm an engineer, and very much it's a case of, here is the solution. I can see a problem, I have my solution, it will work, I will implement it, and it will be done quickly, easily, and with no problems at all.
Okay, Mike, your interest has been driven by the challenges of the pandemic and the location of your club and the changing work patterns. That's where your interest in hybrid meetings started. That's interesting because, as you've said, that applies to a lot of clubs. One question that a lot of members would be also interested in is, how did you become a member of the District 91 Hybrid Committee?
An excellent question, Mo. I started my journey into hybrid in July, and I rushed around looking for all the information that was available. So I found lots of great stuff in the District 71 sort of websites and YouTube channels. I went off to hybrid meetings, or sort of people who'd done hybrid meetings all across the world. So DTM Masters out in Virginia, some places out in India, some places out in Germany. So I did all this background work, and I was enthused and excited, and was wondering, what's our district doing? What's District 91 doing? So I got in touch with the various great and good within the district, and they said, well, we're still making up our minds, but we'll let you know. And I kind of followed up. And eventually Arno, who's very keen, lots of great questions, lots of great feedback, said, there's this guy, Mo, he's putting together a committee. Drop him a line. So I dropped Mo a line in September 2020. And he said, Great to hear from you. We're setting up a committee in November 2020. We'll get back to you. January 2020 comes along. I haven't heard anything. So I get in touch and say, what's happening with this committee? Because, obviously we've been sat in our hands waiting for something to happen generally in the world, the pandemic. It would be good to start planning things for when we get back into physical meetings, no doubt in the spring of 2021. So I sent out that email, didn't hear anything back. But then suddenly in March 2021, a leaflet drops through our doors about what the hybrid committee is doing. So I thought, great, it is a work in progress. I will contact them. So I contacted Mo. We had a great discussion and he invited me to join. Now, I tell this story not to have a dig at Mo. That's far from my mind with this. It's to make 3 points. One, we're all volunteers. We're all lacking in time. We're all doing this because we're driven to do it and we want to see things happen and we want to make a difference, but we don't have infinite amount of time. This is not most of our first jobs, and therefore we're not expecting immediate responses. Number two, if you are going to go down this path, a lot of it you'll have to walk alone. You're going to have to work out why your club wants to do it, why you want to do it, how you're going to bring people along on that. That's going to require your own reserves to do that. You can't expect someone to be giving it to you on a plate. You've got to be doing your own load of the work. And the other one is, it's not about technology. So many of the discussions about hybrid start with technology. It's about what camera should we have, what microphone should we have. It's never about technology. Technology is doable. We can do the technology. It's the people that are always going to be the challenge. I would say the weakest link, but that would be that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say something negative. It's just the way that the process goes. We need to get people involved. We need to get people trained. And we need to get people enthused, which is why when Mo offered me a position on the hybrid committee, I jumped at the chance.
Thank you very much, Mike. And Mike, I would continue to say, is my favorite Scotsman. Apologies to any other Scotsman I know, and has been a very hard working member, not just of the District 91 committee, but also in Division J, where he's area director. Thanks for persevering and putting yourself forward to make a change for our district. And we will continue to work together for a much longer time. What I would now say is, the next question is going to be asked by Marta. Over to you, Marta.
Mike, thank you for your reasons of coming to hybrid committee. I think it is a fascinating account. But what has been your Toastmasters hybrid journey in general?
I've talked about the top level stuff, but it is all about the detail. I mean, it was from the very start of understanding what the problem was. It was going out to the members, finding out what they were wanting to do, what were their interests, how were they finding Zoom, gathering all this information, doing surveys, doing questionnaires. Again, not about technology. It was about people. It was saying, okay, these are my concerns about how the club is going to thrive or not moving forward. How do we do that? How do we do that not as a singular vision, but as a club coming together to solve this difficult problem? So it was all about questionnaires. It was all about consultation for the first couple of months. We've obviously had massive delays. We all thought we might be getting back in in summer 2020 or winter 2020 or spring 2021, and then it's all been more like sort of summer 2021. In all those spaces, it was time to go back to the members and say, are you still into this? We're seeing how this is evolving. It's a journey where people have to be brought along. And again, that is the principles of leadership which Toastmasters is trying to instill. It's not about leadership saying, I want to do the hybrid because I think it's cool. It's because we want to do hybrid because it is best for our club. So my journey, my Toastmasters hybrid journey, has been one of consultation, been one of community, one of bringing people together, building a common vision and seeing a way that we can deliver that.
That is something so important, isn't it? What has been your biggest challenge as a hybrid committee member?
Thank you, Marta. Now, you can see I'm an enthusiastic person. I'm a man filled to the brim with energy. One of the greatest challenges in anything, and the hybrid committee is no different, is that things are always going to move slower than you want. Particularly when you think, and it's a terrible engineering mindset, that you have a solution and it's just being slowed down by people who are not springing up to it. But fortunately, I learned to put that away a long time ago, and I learned to accept that just because I want something to happen quickly, that isn't the way it's going to go. But because of all the consultation we're having to do, because this has to be led by the clubs, and all we can do as a committee is encourage, point them in the direction of information. We don't have great reserves of time or people or money to thwart this problem. It's something we all have to come together to do, and that takes time, and that moves slowly. And that for me has been the biggest challenge. That I think I can see lots of benefits of hybrid, lots of challenges as well, but I can see there's low-hanging fruit there to be grabbed, and just the fact that it takes so much time to move the discussion along a small amount. I would love to move that forward, but I know that if you try to pressure these things, it's counterproductive. It would, for every step we try to push forward, we'd move the clubs two back. So we have to take the time. But I would say my biggest challenge is just dealing with that frustration. Because see, I love the committee, I love what we're doing, I love the people we work with. I just wish, we could turn it up an extra gear. But I know that is something I have to hold back on and keep in reserve.
Thank you, Mike, for this, and really, this is something that I can also be on the same side with you. So thank you for wording it, and I would like Mo to ask another question to you.
Thank you, Marta, and thank you, Mike. From biggest challenge, which is time, it would be interesting to actually get to know, what has been your most rewarding experience as a hybrid committee member?
That is a simple answer. It's just the fact that this has given me an opportunity to get nose about in other clubs' business and about how they're approaching the hybrid solution. Because I've talked about the worst trap that we could fall into is having a singular vision that what we want to do is right. And being on the committee has just allowed me to tap into the great work that Holborn has done, the great work that Whitney's done, the great work that many clubs have done around the district, and just see how they are different viewpoints. They're different ideas, they're completely different approaches and solutions have come up with something marvelous. And from each of these, we can pick something up and use it for our own journey. So this has been a privileged position just to oversee and get involved in so many things going on. I mean, that has really, for me, been the greatest thing about this committee, is that we have this insight, we can distill the info we've got and we can make it available. And it's important stuff. I mean, yes, I said at the start, there's lots of information out there, but it can be daunting, particularly if you're not technically literate, particularly if you don't know where to start. And I think where we in the committee, we have gone out there and we've found the best people out there. And not all of them, we can't possibly see all of them, but we've cherry picked a few and worked with them and seen what other people are doing and made the right sort of nudges in the right sort of places and help people along. And so for seeing the great creative responses that people have come up with, and just to work alongside some fantastic people. I mean, that's two great things for one small, I think, sort of drawback of being in the committee, which is frustration about time. So definitely it pays for itself in the long term.
Thank you very much. And that's actually good to know. I would support the view that it's been quite interesting to support and to witness what some of our members in District 91 have done. And as you've mentioned, we can only go as fast and as fast as the clubs choose to move. But despite that, we can only go as fast as the clubs want to move, provide them the information. It's still possible for us to have aspirations, especially for our district. What aspirations do you have for District 91 when we talk about a hybrid future?
One of the things I think that came out of Zoom, I mean, a terrible experience for all concerned. I think we can all agree there have been some benefits. One of those benefits was, as a Toastmasters member of over 12 years, I could have gone to anywhere in the world. I could have turned up at a meeting and just stepped in and been welcomed. But that was never going to happen. Unless I was on a holiday, work trips, there was never going to be the time. I was never going to be that prepared. But it was a great opportunity, just sat there. Zoom has allowed us to achieve that. I have been all around the world visiting Toastmasters clubs. We have had visitors from all around the world visiting our own clubs. Hybrid can do that at multiple levels. If we can get hybrid to be seamless and just be part of the background, people can step in and out of meetings as if there are no boundaries, as if there are no borders. And for me, that is incredibly powerful. Imagine a world of no barriers and no boundaries. Nothing between countries, nothing between people. That is a mindset which we could inculcate within Toastmasters. We can build it up, spread that out, a message that goes beyond the wonderful stuff Toastmasters already does. You know, one of empowerment, one of kind of building people up, but one of tearing down barriers. That for me is the vision I see for the district, you know, the regions, the global Toastmasters. You know, no doors are closed. All doors are opened by hybrid.
Thank you very much, Mike. A Toastmasters world without borders or boundaries. A Toastmasters world of empowerment. Thank you very much. That's a wonderful aspiration to have for District 91. And I'm sure that the hybrid meetings will give us an opportunity to do that. I'll now hand over to Marta to ask the next set of questions. Over to you, Marta.
Thank you, Mo. Mike, it is so inspiring when you talk about tearing down barriers. Absolutely. How, as a committee member, how did you lead your club transition to hybrid meetings?
I think I can say I was probably in the right place at the right time. I mean, I was picking up the Sergeant of Arms role at that particular moment, and which is all about logistics. It's all about making the meetings work. And in that, I think that's where it gave me the impetus to say, you know, this is a new world. This is a new world for Sergeant of Arms. It's always been one of my favorite roles within Toastmasters, simply because it's the most forward-facing all of them. But suddenly now it had a completely different kind of aspect to it. It was opening up an entirely different world, an entirely different set of meeting rooms. So having access to the committee through a role which kind of, if I'm honest, tends to get looked down upon. It tends to be not the big, it's not the big trio. It's the kind of role where you get people involved, get them people started up within Toastmasters. I've always loved it, and now I had extra reason to love it. It was opening up doors within the club, and I could use that to start a discussion. And in starting that discussion, it was then to get a small subcommittee put together, to get more people interested, start spreading that message. So we now had a committee, we had a club committee talking about it, we had a subcommittee talking about it, we then had larger discussions. And that was all about. You know, we were all online, we were all trapped off from each other. We weren't, you know, having the same conversations we would have done when we were back in our physical meetings. But this gave us a subject we could come back to. It gave us a common thread that we could all reflect upon when we weren't together. It was something like, oh, okay, well, what could hybrid look like? What could it mean to us as a future meeting thing? In many ways, it drew the club together, just having this topic to kind of come back to and to refer to and talk about. So rather than sort of, you know, great unknowns of, well, when are we going to get back? Well, it doesn't really matter, because when we get back, we'll do this. We'll have a hybrid plan. We've got these things in motion. So it was very much a talking point that drew people together. So as I was Sergeant of Arms, I started that process, and then I was fortunately, and perhaps because of all my advocacy work and doing the hybrid kind of discussions and leading those discussions, doing presentations on it, doing the informing, I was fortunate, incredibly fortunate, to be sort of chosen as president for this year, which puts me in a great position to in some ways, unfortunately, deliver upon all my promises I would have made as Sergeant of Arms. But in doing that, again, the thing that I cannot forget is I'm doing this not for myself, it's for the club, and it has to be slowly, it has to be making sure that every stage people have a voice. And I think I have, if anything, the one drawback is I probably deaved people to death with the number of questionnaires and little reports to put in front of them, just so I know that they are making an informed decision at every stage. And we're now at the process of starting to invest in technology, and I feel people are making a really informed choice. It's not just, we're going to do this because it's the right thing to do. We're going to do this because people know they see the benefits. And I think that could never have happened had I not been a member of the committee.
That's such a valid point. So this was the process that has been emerging from the surveys and from the discussions. But what are the challenges your club faced, and how have you overcome them?
Again, I think the number one response to this is always going to be venue and location. I think the challenge has always been, would we get back to our original venue? Would it even work with all our plans? And so much of it was always going to be dependent on getting back there and seeing how things worked. But the other challenge was, very much our club is, if I'm honest, sort of split down the middle. I mean, we have people who are perfectly happy to be on Zoom, perfectly happy to be calling into meetings. We have people who didn't want to ever go to Zoom, and we've only got them back in the last couple of months as we've gone to hybrid meetings. And the challenge has been making sure that both of those people feel engaged in the process. Both of those people feel that the meetings are for them, that the meetings are not seen as a lower standard compromise. Making sure that as we find our feet and as we make mistakes, that is not seen as a damning indictment of how hybrid doesn't work, but as an experience of moving something forward and trying something out. I think that is always going to be the challenge for most clubs, if they're entirely honest, is that you cannot, not everyone is going to want to be part of this. I think that people have talked about, and I've heard people talk about now, people are concerned about technology that don't really want to engage with it at all, and they've struggled to get onto Zoom. And in many ways, hybrid is a scarier version of that. It's in taking technology into the place they felt secure. Their room, their four walls and a ceiling. Suddenly technology is now in there with them, where they felt that it was just people. Now you have this demon of technology lurking around the sidelines. That is going to be the challenge for my club, I think for many other clubs. But again, the only way through it is just making sure that you listen to people. It's listening, listening, listening. It's what, as Toastmasters, should always be our first response.
So true. I could only agree. I couldn't agree more with you on this. Let us ask Mo ask another question.
Thank you very much, Marta. Interesting. You've talked about challenges. I suppose to balance things out, let's talk a little bit about benefits. You've pointed out that one benefit that your club is possibly experiencing at the moment is some members who didn't want to attend Zoom, and now possibly attending in person in terms of hybrid. So in view of the fact that there's been a lot of consultation, extensive consultation from your members, apart from the members who are attending face-to-face who couldn't attend at all, and as such couldn't derive any benefits from the club, what are the benefits that you looked forward to, or that your members are now able to share with you to say, now that you are trialing hybrid meetings, I know there are going to be challenges and I know it's early days, but what is the feedback you've received from your members, and what benefits have you experienced in this early stages of trialing hybrid meetings?
I think it comes down to the fact that time is never going to move backwards. We're not going to get back to a point where we don't have technology in every room. You think about the fact that most people are carrying around a supercomputer by 1960 standards. Technology is with us everywhere. It is only going to get more and more involved in our lives. I remember going to my first teleconference 20 years ago. Appalling quality. It was basically strange squares gradually moving about. It was awful. I remember going to my first hybrid meeting probably 5 years ago. It was awful. People just ignored anyone who wasn't sat in the room. And I think the opportunity and the benefits we're already seeing is that people are becoming more comfortable with technology being in every part of their life. We're seeing people getting used to the fact that there is a screen in the room. One of the challenges is, however, they keep looking towards the screen because we're trained to look at screens, whether it be in the pub, whether it be at home and on the sofa. We spend a lot of times and we're drawn towards screens. So we're now bringing these things together that never were together and trying to get them work. And that's a great challenge, but that's why Toastmasters exists. That's why this is a great benefit. Toastmasters exists to come across new things in communication and come up with better ways of dealing with it. We're here to help people get over their fear of public speaking. We can be here to make hybrid meetings work, to set up protocols, to set up ways of thinking that don't just say, well, this is the physical people, that's all I care about, or this is the screen, this is all I care about. It can be a case of, we're all one room. There is no boundary. The only boundary is an artificial one. These are all individuals and I can see them as such. And I can see that starting to happen within the club. I can see people who probably would never have been really engaged with Zoom, starting to engage with Zoom. People who would not really have wanted to come along to a physical meeting, getting more interested in breaking down the barriers behind that. We're seeing people who maybe didn't have the confidence to come along to a physical meeting, starting to see that door crack open for them. Now, it's all early days. This is all, kind of first steps, and it could easily come falling apart because the technology barely holds together. But I can see the benefits and I can see people change. And that small change, building upon change, building upon change, building upon change is what has always excited me and enthused me about Toastmasters. It's that business of helping people become better elements of themselves, helping them grow. All hybrid is another route to growth, different growth than you might have expected, but it's growth, and that is a door that we can hold open.
Thank you very much. And this is going to be the last question, but I'm going to maybe sort of go back to this question about benefits. And maybe as you answer this question in terms of advice you would give to clubs that are considering hybrid or that are going to trial hybrid, as my last question, I would like you to maybe go back to the issue of the benefits in terms of the Toastmasters mission is to empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. And the essence of the club is for it to also provide a learning experience for members. When we are talking about hybrid, there's issues of the meeting experience, the energy of the meeting. I know you've talked about people are changing, they're becoming more comfortable with technology. But essentially, the Toastmasters mission is we empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders in a club environment. So please, last question from me. Benefits as they relate to the Toastmasters mission and the club mission, and the advice you would give to clubs considering trialing hybrid meetings.
I think I'll take the second part of that first. So the advice I would give is talk to your members, and then talk to your members, perhaps talk to your members. Once you've talked to your members again, maybe leave a couple of weeks, then talk to them and talk to them again, because this is a challenge. I mean, hybrid is never going to be simple. It's never going to be for everyone. And it needs the members to really want it. But equally, and more importantly, it needs the members to understand what it is. I've seen hybrid bandied about. It gets stuck on all sorts of meetings. People are saying alternating meetings are hybrid because 1 week they're doing that, 1 week that's bringing things together. That's two separate meetings on 2 different days in completely different ways. Hybrid is bringing 2 disparate meetings together. And the thing is, if people don't understand what they're being encouraged to think about or don't have the information to hand, they're never going to be able to make that right decision. So my advice will always be, talk to your members, give them information, give them time to think about things. Don't try and drive an agenda or a deadline for an external reason. It has to be, and I think that's very much the point you were making, at the club level, it has to be within the club's timescale. And in that club timescale, you will see benefits just from the discussion. One of the issues we always suffer with in Toastmasters is, are we engaging with our members enough? Now, we are talking, when we're talking about hybrid, something futuristic, something we are going to be learning to live with moving forward. Whether it's in Toastmasters, whether it's in our day-to-day lives, we are seeing changes. Hybrid is coming whether we want it or not. So making sure our members can be as good in physical meetings and good in online meetings and good in hybrid meetings is vital to their success as individuals, to their success as Toastmasters. And we can see those benefits already emerging as we see the number of clubs on the hybrid list increasing week on week. This demonstrates to me that while there are challenges, while there are people who see Toastmasters as fundamentally an organization of standing up in front of people, Toastmasters has always been forward-looking. You just look at the pathways and the various agendas, even the books, they were always looking at speeches to try and involve more technology and more things that are happening in the future, television interviews or podcasts or various other things. Toastmasters has always been at the cutting edge of change. This is a benefit. Why would you not want to be part of something that is breaking new ground? Why would you not want to be at the head of that learning curve? Why would you not want to be a pioneer?
And on that note, why would you not want to be a pioneer? I can only say a big thank you to Mike for sharing his thoughts with us. I am now going to hand over to Marta, who is going to ask the last two questions. Thank you very much, Mike, and over to you, Marta.
Thank you, Mo. And Mike, what in your what you think is the greatest opportunity that hybrid meetings provide?
I've probably touched on this already in the base that one of the learning processes I got out of Zoom was I could engage with new members who would never have come along to a physical meeting. It opened door to people who needed the Toastmasters help. We needed that community of people who wanted to lift them up, wanted to support them, but would never have been able to go to a pub or a church or a location where they didn't know people. These were people who needed help, but there was help there, but they couldn't access it in a ready way. Zoom offered that. And I feel it in my heart of hearts that hybrid, the biggest thing that hybrid can do is continue that process, but nudge that door even further. People who might not, who could come along to a Zoom meeting can now see, these meetings are safe places where there are people willing to help them, hold them up, support them through the challenging process of public speaking. It is one of the biggest fears. Even people who've been doing it for years, the nerves never really go away. So that for me is what hybrid will do, is that the door that sort of Zoom has opened and will continue to open for people on Zoom, I think hybrid opens to me the ability to crack that door even wider, allows people to gain that bit more confidence, to come along to a physical meeting, to feel secure in sharing themselves with a group of almost strangers. And that for me is worth any amount of time and effort expended in it, because that for me is exactly what Toastmasters is here to do.
Oh, I love that metaphor of open doors, and the doors open even more, even broader. And what would you consider the best possible outcome with hybrid meetings for your club in the future?
I think I've touched on the fact that I think there are two camps within my club, and probably most clubs, where there are the people who are comfortable on Zoom and the people who would never touch Zoom with a barge pole. And I think in this early stages of hybrid, both sides will see this as an imposition. The physical people will see this technology and the online environment in their room as drawing away from their physical meetings. And the people online will say they're spending too much attention on the people in the room. My vision for the future is that we don't see those barriers. We don't see, we don't see the technology. It just happens so seamlessly. We're so used to it that meetings just run like they always did. We have the protocols in place that it runs smoothly. It's like a normal meeting, and people forget that there was ever a division between the two. It just becomes natural. If you can't make it to a meeting, you can log on and have exactly the same experience, maybe apart from popping down to the bar, but you can have as close to that exact same experience as you would do wherever you log in from, whether you're in the room or not. I think that can be done. I don't think it's going to be done next week, next month, next year, but I think it's something we can aim towards. The more times that we do this, the more people that get involved in the problem. And again, I've talked about this, the fact that the sheer creativity that I've seen brought to bear on this already shows me that we will get a future where hybrid meetings will be the standard. People won't think about there being an online or a physical. It will just be, you will turn up, you will engage with people, it will be natural, it will be seamless, it will work.
Wow. Thank you for that passionate record and for that passionate answers to our questions. I feel so enriched by this conversation. Thank you once again, Mike, for taking part in our interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Very much my pleasure.
Thank you, Marta, and thank you, Mike.